So how do you handle expenses that cannot be put on a line of credit? The answer to that is there are no expenses that cannot be put on a line of credit. The only revolving line of credit that cannot take all expenses is a credit card. And how that works is this is your bank and here's your HELOC or a PLOC, which is a personal line of credit, whichever you have. This is your checking account. So as long as you have these two in the same bank, they will usually link. So when they link it, that means that this kind of serves as an overdraft protection account.
So it's like a sweep almost. Yeah.
It is a sweep, except sometimes you have to sweep it in manually yourself, right?
Mhm.
The income comes in. So let's say you make $1,000, you will manually transfer this into whichever line you have. If you have a $500 payment that comes in, then if it hits a zero balance on this checking account, it will automatically sweep from this line into the checking, wiping that out, bringing it back down to a zero, while your $500 ends up in this balance over here. This is the way mine is set up. So anytime that I talk to someone about using a line of credit, try to get it with the same bank that has your checking account so that this can happen.
Yeah.
And it makes things so easy because you're just using your checking account for everything. So when you said what happens to the things that you can't use a line of credit for, you can. You're just using your checking for everything, income and expenses, which is automatically sweeping out of this account.
Yeah. No, that actually, yeah, that answers that big question. And yeah, thinking of that, I mean, that's obviously what a lot of businesses will do as well. So I'm familiar with sweeps and was never necessarily thinking of, I guess, linking them like that. But no,
Right.
that makes a ton of sense. Okay.
Now, if you move into a first lien HELOC on your primary residence, that serves as a huge sweep account, and it does sweep the income in and the expenses out 12 midnight every night. But you have to have enough value in your home that you've got a 90% loan to value. Okay. The loan to value at 90% is what comes in and pays off most people's mortgages, which sweeps it then into the huge line of credit. And now we're just working down the whole mortgage balance with bringing in additional debt that you have to pay off as you go down. That's what makes it so very convenient when you're using a first lien.
Okay.
So with your properties, one thing I do want to throw at you, because you are a real estate investor, and it's what all of my real estate investors do, is they use the Money Max account as well. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've seen it referenced a couple times in the video. I've gone on their site. Maybe even if you had a podcast on, maybe with I don't know if it was a creator or such of it, but yeah, versed a little bit in it.
Okay, so I have met the creators of the software. They are two men that live in Utah. They are only about helping people pay off their mortgages faster because they both came up in homes where repossession of the properties occurred. So it was like their life goal to find something that could help people pay off their mortgages faster. So this software comes in and eliminates most of the interest that you are paying on the properties, or any debt for that matter. So if your properties have a 3% mortgage interest rate, let's say, if you've watched the videos, 3% is actually 60% interest that you're paying, and it's front loaded. So when the interest eliminator, which is the Money Max, comes in, it'll bring that 60% down to about 2%. Same for your credit cards. If you have, 20% credit card interest rates, it'll bring it down to overall of about 2%. So you can see that all of your income now is going to actual principal amounts that you owe for your things you bought, instead of going to the interest like it is, most mortgages, you're paying a whole lot of interest in every single payment that you make. If you can knock that back to about 2%, then you can see how you're going to pay your home off in 6 to 7 years instead of 30 years.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Definitely something
Yeah.
I'll make a point to look into.
Yeah, I can send you one of my previous webinars I did for that. Another thing is I have a team set up for that now, because the actual company, the corporate, when you go through them, they put you on a waiting list for training. And I hated that because I'm one of these I need now people. And when I saw that, I had people coming back to me saying, yeah, they can't get me in for 2 weeks or they can't get me in for a month or whatever. I have a team right now of about 13 people that take my fantastic audience and they work with you one-on-one individually until you're completely trained, until any questions you have, and it's a lifetime coaching. So once you're in, it's a one time in. I don't care if you bring 10 properties with you in 10 years, you can keep adding the debt in it. It's not just, it's not just what you currently have. So the point being that for your lifetime, the debt that you take in is no longer going to be an interest bearing debt. You're going to be able to let the money max help you to eliminate that interest down to about 2%, which means that you're going to gain more properties faster, is what it literally does. So I love that. I had a guy come to me. He came to me, the silly boy. He came to me and he asked me to send him the video. He wrote me back and he told me that he really liked what he saw, that he wanted to move into that. I didn't get the email until like a couple of days afterwards and didn't respond. He had gone through corporate and had signed up, then came back to me and said, okay, I have the product, put me with your team. And I'm like, dude, that's not the way it works. Once you're with a team member, wherever team that is, you have to go with that team. So he got put on a waiting list, which we talked with corporate and got that switched over to my team. But the fact is that I don't know of any other people in the corporate that work this way, to where we have a team that actually takes you in and teaches you everything about what it is you need to know, and will do it for you if you want it done for you. So that being said, I need to be more clear with people when they do come to me and, talk about the product, how this team works. But we are having a new affiliation even set up so that when you're in, if you bring people to the table, you get paid based on that. And then the team shows you how that works down your debt by using your affiliate fees or whatever you call it coming in as income, is now helping you to work down your debt even faster. So we're trying to just get things in motion. So one, you're getting the help with your debt. Two, you're helping other people, but you're making money off of that, which is helping you eliminate your debt even faster. So I'm trying to get all kinds of different things set up like that benefits, the audience in more ways than one. That being said, I can send you a copy of, or the recording of one of the webinars that I've done, just so you can see how that product works and how adding in new investment properties would work, since that is what you're into.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd really like to see that.
Okay, I'll send that out to you. And then if you're interested at all, I can get you in for your own personal analysis. That too is free, because I don't want anybody making any decisions until you know that it's something that you want to do and that it's going to work for you. So the analysis tells you, everything that you've got debt wise, how it's going to work for you. It's a guaranteed product, so it gives you a guaranteed payoff date. Then, after you have all of the information that you need, you can make an educated decision on whether or not this product is something that you want to use for your own debt. So don't feel there's no pressure whatsoever. There's no stress in it. It is just an option for my clients. And I was going to say, where it works besides investors is if you can't get a line of credit. So that's how I actually found it, was I have people that cannot get lines of credit. So this works with or without a line, and it doesn't matter what your credit score is. So all that being said, I will send you that out. What other questions do you have?
Yeah, I feel like I should have more, but I mean, I think what you gave me now is kind of one of the main ones. Like I said, I think the biggest thing I had in kind of having, some framework set up of kind of how I manage our finances. My biggest question was kind of how do we connect them, or kind of route everything through kind of a HELOC or a PLOC.
Right.
And then to kind of just, and you touched on it and kind of push towards the right way of, well, if we kind of see some good early success with this and get some traction with it, how do we push this towards kind of our investments? And because we were exactly kind of what you said, we're in that point where we're kind of in that scaling phase. So for the more we can save there and the quicker we can buy properties, that's certainly going to be the better at this point. So
Right. So I love that you're doing what I call the infinite policies. I have 7 of those. Love them because I use the HELOCs to fund them. So if I need a $50,000 chunk, it comes out of the HELOC, it goes into those policies, which is now growing inside of there. If I need that money for investing, I pull it back out in a loan form from myself and then start letting my income work down whatever line of credit I use to fund it. So I do that 7 times throughout the year. Really, I do that more because I have a couple of other investments that I do. So you're constantly funding in chunk form these policies that's going to turn around and buy your next property to save you from getting any of the car loans, getting any credit card debt, getting any mortgages. So for your situation, and at your age, you look quite young. If you and your wife are gaining these policies as you go, but you're allowing any HELOCs that you have to fund them, you can imagine how much money you're going to save when you're taking loans from yourself instead of from the bank, and then you're paying yourself back.
yep, 100% agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, you're missing origination fees and everything. So I dealt with a lady this morning. Her origination fees on a mortgage she was trying to move into was over $26,000. And I'm like, that's just the origination. That's ridiculous. And that was going to be financed in with that big, huge debt she was going into. So I think that we stopped that and we got some things arranged there. But your properties, your primary property can be purchased with a first lien HELOC. So you're never moving into those big origination fees or whatever anyway. And once you've worked down your balance to where you have equity in your home, you just turn around and use your equity to buy into the next property. So you're constantly funding your future when you are using a line of credit if you're using it correctly.
Yeah, no, well put. Thank you.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot, but I think that, we weren't taught to use lines of credit to help ourselves. We were taught to get loans and pay the bank. And that's what I'd like to see everybody step away from is making payments into invest in yourself.